Is your marriage worth saving? That's our topic for today. If you need additional marriage help resources, download our free marriage rescue handbook at hopeformymarriage.com. So, is your marriage worth saving? This is a question that I pose towards those who come to me for marriage counseling and marriage advice. Especially in these cases, it typically tends to be the man or the woman apart from their spouse. And I'll just ask the question, is it worth saving? But before you answer that, let's consider a few things. And so, a couple things that I always point out to them is number one, at one point, you were in love with your partner enough that you asked them to spend the rest of their life with you. If you're, come from a Christian background, you stood before God and man, you made a covenant in sickness and in health, for better, for worse, richer or poor, till death do us part. And so, with that, I will begin to ask the question, well, what drew you to your spouse initially? What was it that you fell in love with? What was the thing that made you willing to forego any other options and ask them to spend the rest of their life with you, or to say yes when that proposal was made to you? So that's the first thing we look at. What was it you fell in love with, and have you just lost sight of that? Second thing we always look at is, how long have you been in this marriage? I'm going to give you two examples from this year. Had two men in their 70s come to me thinking about divorcing their wives. One had been married for 46 years, the other one had been married for 38 years. And I asked them the question, I said, so you've invested more than half of your life into this marriage relationship. You sure you want to start over again? You sure you want to throw all of that investment away? The next thing that I always look at is, what are the external pressures upon you that may be clouding your judgment when it comes to your marriage? Is this a time of difficult finances, health concerns, children going amok, some other crisis that's come up, death of a parent, death of a sibling, death of somebody close? What are the external pressures that are being focused in on the marriage right now? That if those things weren't there, your perspective on the marriage would be much different. Or if things were to change in that circumstance, the perspective would be much different. And then the final thing that I always bring up, if there are children in the marriage, is, our children are going to follow the example we set. As much as we hate it, they don't necessarily do what we say, they do what we do. And so I always ask my couples, is this the example you want to set for your children? Do you want them to follow the same pattern? Or would you like them to have a long and fulfilling marriage with their spouse? And it's not just your children, it's your grandchildren. What example are you setting for them? And are you really willing to set that example? Or would you rather set the example of somebody who looks for solutions to their problems, finds a way to resolve those, and then builds forward with something even better? So just a few thoughts for you. Only you can decide if it's worth, saving your marriage. My true feeling, having been married nearly 33 years, is marriage is a wonderful thing, but it takes effort, it takes investment. It's not always easy, but it's worth fighting for. As a Christian, I believe that our first place we always go when we consider our marriages is we begin to pray about that. God, what would you have me do in this situation? What would you have me do with this marriage? And would you give me the strength that I need to make sure that my marriage is healthy and strong and moving in the right direction? So just a few thoughts for you today. Hope you find those helpful, and I'll talk to you again soon.